right, well, we're gonna go ahead and get started. I have everybody muted so that we can just kind of kill any background noise. So I just want to thank everyone for joining this call. This is Jice. And for anyone who has not participated or didn't participate in the first call, just to kind of give you a little background on where this came from, I don't know, it's been a few months now, I posted on Facebook asking business owners, what are some of our greatest challenges? And so I got a lot of response to that, and I wanted to make sure that I began addressing some of those challenges. And so this is actually our second monthly call. So this is a free call that I'm doing every third Tuesday from 5 to 6, roughly, we'll say to 6, but definitely starting at 5. And so this is our second call, and we are going to talk about cash flow. So I'm excited. I hope that these calls are going to help your business grow. And so like I said, today's call will be about cash flow. We're going to talk about mastering your books. This was brought up by quite a few business owners, and I wanted to take some time to address this. So I'm going to kind of jump right in. What I'll do is I'll kind of go through the material that I have laid out, and at the end, kind of go through a question and answer session if there are any questions. I appreciate any feedback, any suggestions, anything like that. Let me know as well. Let me know of any topics that you want to discuss that you think would be beneficial for your business. So I think at some point I will also have a few guest callers coming in. So hopefully as the popularity of the calls grow, we'll touch on some topics and also get some subject matter experts on the line to help get some of those answers to your questions as well. So let me start off by saying that today we will not master your books. So that might be a slightly misleading title, but mostly that's because we can't do that all in one call, and it's definitely not the easiest to teach about bookkeeping and cash flow via teleconference, but we definitely want to make sure that we kind of open up this dialogue and see where we go from here. So I don't know, I've thought about doing a webinar or workshop. You guys can definitely let me know what you're thinking at the end of this call. All right, so I want to open up today's call by stating some money basics. There are pretty much 3 things that you should know when it comes to your money. So let me start by saying one of my favorite sayings, and that is, what you focus on will grow. And it's almost comical that we want our money to grow, and yet we have a hard time really sitting down to focus on it. You may think like you focus on your money because you say things like, I got to get paid and I'm all about my money. But most of the time, the reality is that we have no clue about our money. So we're going to get into that. So first, I just want to tell you, you must, and let me repeat, you must know about your money. This means you need to know what is going in, what goes out, where it goes, when it goes, where it's coming from, when you're getting it. This is the essence of cash flow. Cash flow is a key word, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But the first of my 3 points is you must know about your money, like every aspect of it. So the second point that I want to connect to is you must make a profit. And this probably seems like a no-brainer, but quite often expenses are exceeding your income, and that leaves business owners with no profit. And so you can't give a homie hookup below your minimum profit margin. And I see this happen a lot. This means that you have to know what it takes to make your business operate. And if you don't know those numbers, then I suggest 1, that you dig into your finances to get to find out what your bottom line needs to be. And 2, don't try and be so generous with the discounts. If you have done some research and you feel that you are aptly priced for your market, definitely don't get into so many discounts and things of that sort, so that you can go ahead and make sure that you are meeting that bottom line. And so the third thing is your cash flow controls your decisions. It determines what you can pay and what you can't pay, what sales that you have to focus on, and so on and so forth. So cash flow determines how quickly your business will grow. Basically, your cash flow is your capacity. So kind of going through that, I want to backtrack a little bit now. and kind of go into the first point a little deeper. So we should have separate accounts for our business and personal finance. So for some of you, that's going to be really obvious, but I still need to say it for any new business owners and for those of you who are not practicing this already, just for the sake of ease of, not having to go and open up that second account, or not really understanding how your taxes works, which is something that we will definitely touch on in a later call. But you need to have your business and your personal finances separate, unless maybe you're a sole proprietor and you intend to stay that way. Other than that, commingling your money is just not recommended. And so again, for the sake of anyone new, it's not difficult to open up a business bank account. Just go to the bank with your EIN, or you can do it as a DBA or doing business as, and open up an account. You can have a low deposit to start. So that's pretty easy. So that being said, if you don't have a bookkeeping system already, a combination of your invoices or receipts, bills, bank statements, all of those combined should be able to help you determine your current cash flow. You should focus on this on a weekly basis. And I will get to that later on as well. I'll mention that again, but definitely you should be focusing on checking your cash flow weekly. So the second thing that I mentioned was that you must make money, right? You have to make a profit. So in particular, when you are growing your business, I recommend checking and double checking, maybe even triple checking your expenses. In most businesses, you don't have to have all of your toys and gadgets and everything that you want initially. And I think sometimes we use that as an excuse or a barrier to start, is that we can't have all of our things as we want them. But the reality is that you can definitely get started with a little bit less and then continue to grow as your cash flow grows. And as you can afford to take on other purchases, whether they be a one-time purchase or maybe additional bills or subscriptions. I was in business for almost 4 years before I took on office space. And even then I'm in a co-working space because that helps keep my expenses in check, and how often I use my office, which isn't super frequently, helps me. But, beginning to take on those additional bills or subscriptions to services and products that you want for your business to expand your business into what you want it to be is going to be dictated by your cash flow. So you should have this in your plans as you hit, various milestones and see some consistent cash flow increases and so on and so forth. In addition to keeping a lid on your expenses, you must also know your bottom line. So this is, what is your break-even point? How much do you need to make and how much do you want to make are numbers that you should know. So if it costs you, let's say, $1,000 to run your business and you charge $50 an hour for your services, then you have to know that you have to book at least 20 hours just to keep your doors open. And so if you sell products, it's a little bit different because you have to factor in your wholesale costs of the item and your operating expenses to determine how many products you must sell to stay in business. And so mind you, this number is not the number for growth. This is not the number for expansion. This is not even the number to feed you and your family. This is just the number, the base number to keep your operations open. So then you have to factor in the number to feed your family, and then of course the number to grow. So you should know all of those numbers. Okay, so this is going to lead me to the third point, which is that your cash flow controls your decisions. So it's a good thing that you're taking control of your cash flow today, right? So here is why I'm making a point to say cash flow and not revenues. If you order products or you order supplies, you may get a credit extended to you in the form of like a net payment. So you've heard the term net 50, net 30. If you sell products or you sell supplies, you may extend credit as a best practice or best in class standard, I should say. If you invoice, many invoices are also on a net basis. Many project-based jobs or construction work is done on a net basis. So what this means is that the products and services that you render or receive, you may not have that money exchanged up front. And so this also means that you can have less money than what's actually in your bank account because you're going to have to pay on that invoice in a few days or a few weeks, right? And so that also means that you may have money due to you that you don't have when you need it most. So, obviously you can't tell your internet service provider that you have an outstanding invoice as a payment. And so you might be looking at your books and saying, well, I have money, I have all these people owe me money. But if you don't have that money in your hands, then you have a cash flow issue, not necessarily a revenue issue. So I just want to make that distinction. So, obviously if you don't have cash on hand when your lease is due, then your business will be in trouble, even if you have, outstanding invoices due. So again, just wanted to make that distinction between revenues, which some companies do have, and look at that as saying, well, no, I'm profitable. But if your cash flow is not on track with you, you can definitely run into quite a bit of problems when your bills are due and you don't have that cash on hand. So cash flow is very, very important. So now if you're on this call, I'll assume that you are probably not an accounting expert. And so keeping your books is probably, well, at least to a lot of entrepreneurs, is a daunting task and it's tedious. Matter of fact, 50% of business owners polled label bookkeeping as their least favorite thing to do. But as we've kind of, talked about today, is also one of the most important aspects of your business, because what you focus on will grow. And so, one, I always recommend getting an accountant. That's my number one tip. Some people may disagree with me. I'm okay with disagreements. We can agree to disagree. But I recommend 110% getting an accountant. Someone who can help you understand your money, who can show you your cash flow, who can help you when it's tax time. If you're smaller and you're concerned about the cost of an accountant, you can definitely do something like have an accountant review your books on a quarterly or even a semi-annual basis for you to start. But definitely I would recommend working with an accountant. Okay, so I want to kind of start rounding around before we get to the Q&A section. I want to make sure that I leave you with some suggestions or solutions on what you can do next. So we've already discussed that bookkeeping, keeping your books and understanding your cash flow, knowing your money can be daunting, it can be tedious, but nevertheless very important. And so what can we do about that? So here's what we can do. First, let's prioritize out your money tasks. So I'm going to kind of list out some things that you should be prioritizing as your task for your money. Your cash flow is your sales and expenses. And so this should be your highest priority. Your profit and loss is more, your profit and loss statement, or P&L statement, as some call it, is something that you kind of want to look at to see your long-term growth, but not necessarily something that you have to focus on a weekly basis. So first, you need to look at your sales all the time. What you focus on will grow. And unfortunately, too many business owners spend time looking at other things besides their sales, but you should always, always, always be selling. So your first priority for your money is focusing on your sales, looking at your sales. That should be done all the time. But in addition to that, you want to look at your expenses on a daily basis. This doesn't have to be really daunting. It's not like you have to, know all of your bills, but, like I said, being very mindful about what your business is spending on a daily basis is important. And that could even be things like coffee with the client, or the different bills that come up, getting supplies, things like that. So just having a good idea of what your expenses are on a daily basis. So again, those two things bring me to cash flow, and this should be done weekly. Every week, you should be looking at what your cash flow, what did your business bring in this week and what went out this week? And even having a good idea of what your business is expected to bring in next week and what's expected to go out next week. And so that's kind of monitoring your cash flow on a weekly basis. So after that, you can review your profit and loss, or again, your P&L statement on a monthly basis. I'll kind of talk to you about a couple of programs that you can use that will help automate some of this for you, but these are things that should be done monthly. And then each quarter, you need to schedule time to look at your costs and for ways to reduce them. And then also each quarter, if you are making investments into something, you should be reviewing those investments as well. So each quarter, look at your investments, look at your costs. And then lastly, semi-annually, you want to review your business for growth. So this is the time that you want to look and say, how's the cash flow been? What's everything looking like? How's my P&L overall? And can I invest in this new technology? Or can I get this subscription? Can I get this new piece of equipment? Is this possible? Can my business support this? So you want to look at those things semi-annually. All right, so these are the activities that you need to schedule into your calendar as tasks of a business owner. Be intentional about it. I mean, don't just say, like, don't get on this call. Don't say that this is important and then walk away and still not take the time to actually focus on your money. So I just laid out like what you need to be doing every day, what you need to be doing every week, what you need to be doing every month, every quarter, and semi-annually. So take some time when you get off of this call to put these into your calendar as tasks that you need to be doing. If you don't, I can assure you that basically you just won't build this into a habit and it's going to hurt your growth. So next, now that you kind of know the tasks that you need to be doing, let's figure out how to create a system for them. So basically how to organize them. So I'm going to give you some ways that you can organize or automate your point of sale and your invoices, your bills, your bookkeeping, your taxes, and your payroll if you have employees. So many of these systems work together. You're going to hear some of them repeated, and that's okay. It's really all about finding the right software programs or the right automation tools that are going to work best for you. And then, so I just want to go into a couple of these. So point of sale. I think this is just too simple. Like, I just came back from the Juneteenth festival and I stopped at least 3 different vendor booths. I had things I wanted to buy and I couldn't because they don't have a point of sale system. They take cash only. And so I'm not going to argue the validity of why some people only want to take cash. But if you want to be legit and make sure that you can take all sales coming your way, which is definitely something I recommend, you should have a point of sale system. And at this point, it's just too simple. You have a smartphone, you have a tablet, then you can make it happen. So you can either work with Square, GoPayment is one, and PayPal. I personally use GoPayment, but in full transparency, Square is the most popular. It gets the best reviews. And so Square you can get for free. It charges you a small fee to use the credit card system, but at the end of the day, you can make sure that you can collect sales everywhere you are. For your invoices, and again, I just will say you'll hear some redundancy, but having the same system doesn't always necessarily mean it's the best, but also having 7 systems may not be helpful as well. So again, I just want to put out there, think through this for yourself and weigh out your options. So let me repeat: for point of sale, Square, GoPayment, or PayPal. For your invoices, you can also use QuickBooks. So QuickBooks and GoPayment are both by Intuit. They're by the same company. You can also use PayPal. The one who gets the best reviews is FreshBooks. I don't use FreshBooks. I actually use QuickBooks myself, but FreshBooks does have good reviews for invoicing. For your bookkeeping, QuickBooks, again, QuickBooks is up there. Now that Xero is also one of the top rated bookkeeping programs that's out there for small businesses, and that is spelled Xero, so Xero, and then Wave, like waving hello and goodbye. Wave, those 3 programs have good reviews for your bookkeeping. QuickBooks, of course, is striving, obviously, since we've mentioned QuickBooks and all of these so far, is striving to be kind of the go-to tool for small businesses. Now, they have automated their setup process based on like typical income streams and expenses for your industry. So if you do decide to use QuickBooks for your bookkeeping, you can go in there, select your industry, and some of the things that are pretty standard in your industry will automatically be in place for you. So they're trying to set up a seamless process. So to check your cash flow, again, QuickBooks will also do that for you. But I hear that Pulse is really good for that, and so is Float. And so I am actually going to be looking into those myself. I will definitely be trying to remember to do a follow-up on Pulse and on Float, but I would definitely not recommend waiting for me. I mean, definitely give them a try on your own. I don't like any excuses. So don't tell me you didn't try Pulse or Float because I didn't review it yet. Definitely, get out there and try that on your own. All right, so to keep this moving, taxes. So We all hate taxes, but it's something that we're not going to get around. So if you do taxes for yourself, TurboTax has the market on lock. And again, I always recommend an accountant. That's just me. But if you do want to go a cheaper route, TurboTax can help get you through it. So that's totally up to you. That's kind of the number one tax do-it-yourself DIY software that's out there is TurboTax. Okay, so for those of you who have payroll, I know a couple of you do. Again, QuickBooks has a feature for payroll. I don't have payroll, so I've never used it. It's an upgraded account feature. But also there is a program called Sure Payroll that has a really good reputation. And so that's Sure, like SURE, Sure Payroll has a good reputation out there for those of you who have employees. And so I will throw this last one in for personal budget, because I definitely believe that you can't be expected to take care of your business finances if you are not taking care of your personal finances. So I will throw out Mint for your personal budget. That's also done by QuickBooks or Intuit, I should say. Now, I love Mint for a lot of reasons. For the most part, it will track your income, expenses. It will definitely remind you of your bills, because no one wants late bills and all the fees that come along with that. It will show you your net worth all in one place. And this is something that I always recommend business owners taking a look at, because net worth is very important. It's something we don't talk about enough. But again, what you focus on will grow. So if you have your net worth constantly in front of you, it will give you pause to think about the next debt or asset that you plan on taking on, or I should say liability or asset that you plan on taking on. But Mint will allow you to see your net worth in one place. And then I personally am not fond of their budgeting tool, but it still gets raving reviews. So, take my review with a grain of salt. Mint overall is a really great budgeting tool for personal finance. Okay, so I know that was an earful. But with the wealth of programs that we have available, honestly, to manage our business and our finances, we really don't have any excuse. And so I just really wanted to be sure that in this call to address some of these issues, dealing with our money, dealing with our cash flow, just kind of knowing what this needs to look like, giving you some resources to help you get on track for this particular part of your business. So again, I just gave you a whole slew of programs that can help you automate some of these things. And I also gave you the timelines that you should be checking them. And I gave you the top 3 things that you need to be doing when it comes to your money. So I hope that, this was good information for you. And then if you feel like it was a lot to digest, if you were driving or in a place where you weren't able to actually take some notes, I will be posting a blog on it. And I will have a lot of links to some of these companies so that you can go on there and try them out for yourself as well. So I will just throw that out there. So the last thing is that after you have, organized yourself in terms of how often you should be checking up on your finances, you have created your systems, help get some of your systems a little bit more automated, you definitely have to review. You can't just set up the systems and not use them. Some of the systems are not necessarily going to work for you. So you may try one and then decide that this one's not a good one and try another. So don't forget the review process as you kind of work through what this looks like, and make reviewing your money a habit, because what you focus on will grow. And so I'm really, really hoping that I drive home the point that we have to focus in on our money as a business. I know that sometimes it can be overwhelming, but we just can't get around it. If we want our businesses to grow, we have to focus on our revenue, our sales, on our cash flow, and on our expenses. And, sometimes you may have to set reminders for yourself to make it a habit. You may need to work with an accountability partner, with a coach, with a business partner, whatever you need to get yourself on track. So I really, hope and push and stress that this is something that you do. So I talk really fast, but I hope that you got that. This pretty much wraps up the information that I have for you on this call. I'm before I close out this call, again, I just hope that it was helpful. And I hope that you learned something new that not only that you can kind of reflect on, but also begin to use as you grow out your business. And so I just want to thank everyone who attended the call. If it was helpful, we have our next call on July 19th, and we will be talking about consistency. Why? Because many of us stop before we see a breakthrough. And so we'll kind of be talking about some numbers that you need to know to see the type of results that you want. And I'll just give you kind of one example of that. When it comes to sales, you have to have 5 touches minimum after your initial touch to close a sale. And yet most people stop after one attempt. And so those are just some of the numbers that we'll kind of be talking about why you may not see the results that you want, maybe because you're stopping too soon, and how we stay consistent and in moving our business forward. And so we'll talk about some of those. We'll also be talking about mindset and kind of building productive routines that help keep us consistent. So that's going to be July 19th. And then the last thing is I wanted to give you some information on my upcoming coaching program. I'm not going to cover the cost because I'm going to be running a one-time special promotion in a couple of weeks. So just be on the lookout for that. But I wanted to share with you just briefly the details of the program. This is my Rise and Grind coaching program. It is based around productivity. And so it is for business owners who are looking to increase their productivity, who feel that they are not seeing the success that they want, or who feel like they're stuck, or maybe even who feel like they're working really, really hard, but just not seeing the type of results that they should. So it's a 10-week program, and it's going to focus on becoming more productive, focusing in on the right actions to move your business to the next level, and also developing a growth mindset. And so this is a group coaching program. It will feature small groups so that we can kind of dig deep into each of your individual situations. It is an online and over the phone program. And then the sessions will be available for review just in case you missed them, because it is an extended program. So if you're interested in this program, let me know. And like I mentioned, I will have a one-time promotion coming out in the next couple of weeks. So, and then after that, it'll just be open up for regular enrollment. So again, I just want to thank everyone this evening for taking the time to join this call. And definitely, if you have any questions, you can hit me up offline. But I just want to wish everyone a good evening, and I appreciate your time tonight.